Okay, so many of you on this channel may already know that I absolutely love the Zelda video games, and the ones that are closest to my heart are the N64 ones. So if you're like me, you've always wanted your own set of masks from Majora's Mask that you can put on and transform into stuff. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Well, making the mask part, not the transforming part. But maybe I will. No. Okay, so one of the first things I need to do is I need to take some of this plastic wrap and this duct tape and get the dimensions of my head. And I'm using this saran wrap so I don't end up accidentally duct taping my actual hair and my face and things like that. So I got some of my hair. Okay, so to make things a little bit easier on myself to get the general shape of my mask, I decided to get this printout from the Punish Props Academy YouTube channel. If you don't know who they are, they're a channel that does a lot of stuff with EVA Foam, way more professionally than I probably ever could. So after you're done watching this video, make sure to go over to their channel and check their stuff out if you haven't before. They do some awesome work over there, and thank you Punish Props for making things like these blueprints available for your fans. Okay, so to start off, I cut out all the pieces I needed from the paper templates and traced them onto the EVA foam using a Sharpie. And once I did that, I went in with my razor blade and cut out all the pieces I traced out. So to pre-curve all the pieces of this mask, I heated them up and ran them across this glass bowl. Once all the pieces were cut and curved out, I went and put some liquid cement onto each of the areas that would be put together. With this stuff, you do want to read the instructions for whatever brand that you're using, but you're going to probably want to wait about 5 to 10 minutes before sticking them together. If you put it together while it's still wet and not tacky, it's not going to stick properly. And when you're sticking it all together, be patient and just make sure you press into all the areas a bit, just to really make sure you get a good seal. The next thing that I need to make is the mouth section of the mask, and to do this I used a piece of paper and traced out a circle that I could use as a reference for the foam. This gives me a basic idea of the size that I need, and then I can just trim it down to the exact size that I needed to after. It's always a good rule of thumb to always start a little big and slowly take away from the foam. As for the eye section, I just freehanded the shape and size that I wanted using my Sharpie. And then I just needed to glue together the mouth and attach it to the mask. So to fill out any of the gaps of the mask, as well as kind of blending the mouth to the face of the mask, I chose to use some of this air dry foam clay. Now this is the first time I've ever used this stuff, and it was pretty interesting to use, but I was really happy that once it dried, it felt like regular EVA foam. At this point now, I just needed to clean up all the edges of the mask, and I did this by using a sandpaper bit on my Dremel. And then I went in and added some guidelines with my Sharpie for the wood grain texture. So to make the wood grain texture, I used a more fine tip bit on my Dremel and went around the whole thing and added a larger cartoony like wood grain texture. This was probably one of the most satisfying parts of making this mask. So after heating it all up and getting everything nice and smooth, I took some Plasti-Dip spray paint and gave it a nice good layer of primer. To paint everything, I just used acrylic to achieve everything. For the base color, I went in with an orangish brown, and this was the perfect mid-tone color for what I wanted. And then I brushed on some darker oak color to bring out that wood grain color just a little bit. Once I finished with the base color, I went and added in some highlights using a mix of the dark brown color as well as a light tan color. And then I just went in and dry brushed this color all over the entire mask where any of the edges of the wood grain were. This helped bring out a lot of depth into this piece. So after I painted the main part of the mask, I realized I forgot to add the inner piece of wood that I wanted to the mouth to kind of bring in the whole thing just a little bit more. So I cut out a piece of foam in the same way I did the main section of the mouth and just made it just a tad bit smaller. And basically went in with the same method of painting it. Started with the light brown, added some dark brown, a little bit of highlights, and then a dark wash over all of it. Once everything got that dark wash, I went in with a last set of highlights throughout the entire mask using just the tan color by itself. I wanted to add this in areas I felt maybe saw a little bit more light than most of the other parts when you're wearing this mask. So areas like the edge of the mouth, around the eye sockets, the brow line, and the outer edges of the mask. And I did this by dry brushing it as well. So to achieve the leaves on the top of the head, I just used some leaves off of a really cheap fake plant that I have, and I chose 3 of the biggest leaves that were on it. So for some added detail around the eyes, I went in with some orange and red paint and added some bleed from the eyes. The eyes of the mask are a yellow and orange color, so I thought a little bit more of a reddish hue would be perfect for this part. So to get more wood grain-like effect for the eyes, I went with a different method than I did with the main body of the piece, and I did this by using a razor blade. The cool thing about using the EVA foam is that if you actually score areas, then heat them up, it'll slightly expand, and I thought this would be perfect for this smaller area here. Now, like I said, the color of the eyes are a yellow that shifts into an orange, so I started with the yellow section and worked outward towards the orange. And the last thing we need to do is just attach the eyes and the leaves using some hot glue, and it's pretty much done then. So why don't we take a look at our final completed piece. Alright everyone, that is the finished Deku mask. I am absolutely in love with this thing, and if you enjoyed this video, maybe go check out some of my other videos and subscribe if you aren't yet. And also make sure you go check out Punish Props. Without their blueprints, this project would have taken me a lot longer to do. But like always, keep drawing, and until next time, bye!